The farmhouse of yesterday was born of necessity, functional, sturdy, and modest. But today's rustic revival turns this once pragmatic form into a personalized sanctuary. It keeps the soul of the old homestead alive while integrating luxurious touches, sophisticated design, and innovative functionality, creating a home that's both nostalgic and forward-thinking. At the heart of the rustic aesthetic lies reclaimed wood, weathered beams, knotty pine, and hand-scraped floors that echo the past. Today's farmhouses embrace this texture-rich element, but pair it with sleeker accents and clean lines, balancing rugged charm with modern polish for an updated yet authentic look. Forget flat whites, today's farmhouse palette leans into warm taupes, earthy greens, soft blacks, and deep creams. These tones invite coziness and depth, moving away from sterile minimalism and towards an environment that feels grounded, natural, and emotionally inviting, while still staying crisp and curated. The modern farmhouse opens up. Walls come down, and sightlines stretch across wide living spaces, bringing together kitchen, dining, and living in a harmonious flow. Yet even in this openness, the warmth of vintage character, think barn doors, exposed rafters, and antique hardware, grounds the space in memory. In a reborn farmhouse, the kitchen becomes a statement. It's not just a workspace, it's a warm gathering place. Shaker cabinets, matte brass hardware, apron sinks, and statement islands are paired with top-tier appliances. It's where rustic meets refined, where Sunday meals and weekday breakfasts feel equally special. Texture is the unsung hero of farmhouse design. Shiplap walls, stone fireplaces, linen drapes, and leather seating add tactile richness. These elements are layered intentionally, bringing history and humanity into a space without overwhelming it. Every texture tells a story, and together, they create a home that feels lived in and loved. Look up in today's farmhouse and you'll often see drama, vaulted ceilings, rustic beams, or tongue-and-groove paneling that adds depth. These architectural features lift the eye and spirit, bringing an airy spaciousness to even the coziest spaces and reminding us that simplicity can still be grand. Nature plays a starring role in farmhouse design. Large windows, sliding barn-style glass doors, and skylights bring in abundant light and landscape. Houseplants, natural materials, and earthy palettes blur the boundaries between inside and out, crafting homes that breathe and bloom with the seasons. Modern farmhouse furniture blends the elegant with the enduring. Distressed wood tables, tufted linen sofas, and metal frame beds are favorites. Pieces feel collected, not curated. Antique store finds sit comfortably beside contemporary designs, creating a space that feels like it's evolved over time, rather than decorated overnight. The rustic rebirth transforms bedrooms into sanctuaries. Layers of natural fabrics, handmade quilts, reclaimed headboards, and vintage lighting all create a sense of serenity. These are spaces designed for deep rest, for reconnecting with self and nature, even if only for a night. Farmhouse bathrooms step into luxury while holding on to their rustic roots. Clawfoot tubs, subway tile, brushed brass fixtures, and antique mirrors make for timeless retreats. Add a woven rug, a rustic stool, or open shelving with rolled towels, and you've got a spa with soul. farmhouse porch is no afterthought, it's an extension of living. Whether screened or open, front or back, porches are designed for connection. A pair of rocking chairs, a swing, and a warm drink become the ingredients for community and contemplation alike. Mudrooms and entryways balance beauty with utility. Hooks for coats, benches with storage, woven baskets, and vintage tile patterns bring charm and function. These spaces help transition from the outdoors while keeping the home organized and character-rich from the first step inside. Lighting in a rustic modern farmhouse isn't just practical, it's poetic. Lantern pendants, wrought iron sconces, Edison bulbs, and oversized glass globes serve as both illumination and conversation starters. Each fixture evokes an era, creating layered light that flatters and fascinates. Bonus rooms in the new farmhouse are more purposeful than ever: craft rooms, yoga studios, and home offices adorned with warm woods, cozy rugs, and vintage desks. These tailored spaces honor personal passions, making the home a true reflection of the people who live in it. One of the most captivating features of the rustic rebirth is how it bridges eras. A state-of-the-art kitchen with reclaimed wood beams. A vintage dining table beside contemporary art. This interplay allows homeowners to honor the past while embracing the conveniences of today. Modern farmhouses often favor sustainable practices. Reclaimed materials, energy-efficient windows, natural insulation, and solar panels blend seamlessly into the aesthetic. It's a lifestyle shift as much as a design choice, one that reflects care for both history and the future. Each rustic rebirth carries the stamp of its locale. A farmhouse in the Southwest might lean into adobe tones and desert textures. One in New England may favor colonial trims and weathered shingles. The result is a uniquely regional expression of a universal concept. This new farmhouse is built for living. Wide hallways for running kids, durable finishes, and cozy corners for reading or games all speak to a life fully lived. It's elegance without preciousness, a home that welcomes muddy boots and midnight snacks alike. In a world of fast furniture and prefab parts, the farmhouse rebirth honors the handmade. Handcrafted tables, artisan tiles, hand-poured concrete countertops, each imperfection is a fingerprint of the maker, giving the home soul and authenticity that mass production simply can't replicate. No two modern farmhouses are the same. Through antique collections, family heirlooms, gallery walls, and curated bookshelves, homeowners tell their own stories. This personal approach makes each space feel deeply connected to its inhabitants, rather than just following trends. Technology is welcome in the reborn farmhouse, but it's thoughtfully integrated. Hidden outlets, smart thermostats, invisible speakers, all add convenience without disrupting the aesthetic. It's a home that works smarter, not harder, while still feeling grounded in analog charm. Neutral palettes dominate the farmhouse trend, but these aren't bland beige boxes. Rich woods, contrasting textures, bold metals, and layered textiles ensure every space feels dynamic. A neutral home, when designed well, can still be visually stunning and emotionally resonant. While rooted in Americana, the rustic modern farmhouse borrows globally Scandinavian simplicity, Japanese wabi-sabi, and Mediterranean materials often find their way into the mix. The result is a globally inspired home that still feels utterly local and grounded. Art in the modern farmhouse ranges from vintage landscapes to oversized abstracts. Pieces are chosen for emotion, not just color matching. Wall hangings, handmade ceramics, and woven works further elevate the design, making art a core expression of the home's identity. Decks, patios, and outdoor kitchens bring farmhouse living into the open air. Fire pits, weathered dining tables, string lights, and native plantings make the backyard an extension of the home, perfect for hosting, relaxing, or simply stargazing on a summer night. The beauty of the rustic rebirth is that it's not static. These homes evolve over time, walls get repainted, furniture gets swapped, gardens grow. The style is inherently forgiving and flexible, encouraging ongoing creativity and personalization. Farmhouse living often invites a return to community. Whether it's a street of similarly styled homes, a porch where neighbors wave, or a shared appreciation for design, these spaces foster connections. The rustic rebirth is as much about people as it is about architecture. These aren't just houses, they're future heirlooms. The mix of old and new, handcrafted and high-tech, personal and timeless, ensures that today's farmhouse can become tomorrow's treasured memory, passed from one generation to the next with love and pride. The rustic rebirth is more than a design movement, it's a return to something deeper. It's about honoring heritage while embracing modern life. It's about crafting spaces that feel real, rooted, and resonant. This fresh take on the classic farmhouse reminds us that home is more than walls, it's warmth, memory, and meaning, reborn.